Hello friends, welcome to Star Explainer. Tales of Herding Gods Part 307 and 308 explains based on novel. So let's start explanation. Red deity Qi Xiaoyu again. Qin Mu had a weird expression. How many people had red deity Qi Xiaoyu betrayed exactly? Boyfriend Sakura Buddha had an unclear relationship with her. Bai Chua was chasing her for an answer. And now Feng Qiuyan of the Phoenix race under Mother Earth also wanted to beat her to death. Once red deity Qi Xiaoyu was out, furious shouts could be heard from everywhere. However, something is weird. Bai Chua is chasing Qi Xiaoyu because she betrayed the High Emperor Celestial Heavens that Bai Chua belongs to. Feng Qiuyan said she betrayed the Phoenix race, and the Phoenix race is attached to Mother Earth, who has also supported a High Emperor Celestial Heavens, which had High Emperors for 15 dynasties. Qin Mu sank deep into thought. Could these two celestial heavens be the same? Bai Chua has the bloodline of a divine dragon, and the dragon race is also considered half-gods. Could she be a subject under Mother Earth? Yet it doesn't look like it. Bai Chua had once said this stunning sentence by High Emperor to Qin Mu, and that was that human lives are greater than heaven. Qin Mu didn't understand much about the High Emperor Celestial Heavens that Mother Earth supported, but he knew that the pillars of strength for this High Emperor Celestial Heavens was mostly half-gods, and from the actions of these half-gods, he could see that they didn't treat human lives importantly at all. They could be said to be full of disdain and enmity for humans. For example, when the water Qilin revived and saw Qin Mu, Celestial Venerable Yu, and Sakura Buddha, he began to go off on how he was going to eat them to fill his stomach, how they were lowly creatures. From just a small detail, one could see the big picture. In the High Emperor Celestial Heavens that Mother Earth supported, the position of the human race was extremely petty and low. And in the Celestial Heavens that Bai Chua was in, it had the tradition of human lives being greater than heaven. Human lives included the lives of commoners, and they were all very important, so important that even gods had to use their lives to protect the people. This was the one point that moved Qin Mu. This was the sentence he had left behind on the cliff just before he left that era. Which also means that red deity Qi Xiaoyu was born from Mother Earth's Phoenix race and later betrayed the Phoenix race to submit to the celestial heavens Bai Chua was in. After beating the previous red deity to death, she was seized as a prisoner and submitted to the extraterritorial celestial heavens. Qin Mu blinked his eyes. During the founding emperor era, she got together with Li Yuran and ended up betraying him. The conduct of this sister Qi Xiaoyu seems to have some problems. However, the problem doesn't lie in her, it's in the High Emperor Celestial Heavens that Bai Chua was in. The philosophy of human lives being greater than heaven from the High Emperor era could be said to be the foundation for Saint Woodcutter's reform during the founding emperor era. Furthermore, this philosophy also affected the Eternal Peace era. The Eternal Peace Empire carried out the path of the saint, which was sorted out from Woodcutter's teachings by big senior brother Wei Suifeng. The young patriarch later imparted it to Eternal Peace Imperial Preceptor, and it became the stem of the Eternal Peace Empire. The philosophy of three eras could be said to have been passed down from era to era, and even developed continuously. Let us quickly head out. Feng Qiuyan hurried. In case that little slut escapes. Qin Mu couldn't resist saying, Sister Qiuyan, nearly all of the half-gods in the primordial realm are gathered in Jade Capital City. There's the existence that impersonated Mother Earth, and also other gods and devils. The strong practitioners over there are as abundant as the clouds. If we barge in recklessly like this, we won't even have to wait for red deity to make a move. The other strong practitioners will probably beat us to death. Feng Qiuyan shook her head. That Mother Earth is a fake Mother Earth. As long as I unveil her identity, the half-gods will return to my side. With the power of the half-gods, killing Qi Xiaoyu, this traitor, would be a piece of cake. Qin Mu said with a smile, Sister's idea is too simple. If you rush in, the fake Mother Earth will definitely bewitch the half-gods to attack you, and you will become everyone's target. Before you can even meet Qi Xiaoyu, you will be eradicated. Feng Qiuyan stopped and turned her head. What idea do you have? Qin Mu asked, does Big Sister have any of Mother Earth's keepsakes? Something to prove your identity, and Mother Earth's identity. Feng Qiuyan sneered and said, Mother Earth is Mother Earth, why does she need to prove her identity? What skewed logic is that? Qin Mu said calmly, if you don't have a keepsake of Mother Earth, how can you prove that the other party is the fake Mother Earth? Those half-gods were called out by the other party, so they definitely have a keepsake. If you don't have one, how are you going to win over the trust of those half-gods? Feng Qiuyan frowned and asked after a moment, so what should we do? Qin Mu smiled and said, since Big Sister has decided on going to Jade Capital City to tear down her facade, the grounder the entrance, the better. Does Mother Earth have any carriage that represents her identity? Feng Qiuyan said, yes, but it's too grand, and 8 dragons and 8 phoenixes are required to pull the carriage. If we were to take the carriage out, Mother Earth would most likely be alerted, and that wouldn't be good. Mother Earth won't agree to let me kill Slut Qi. Qin Mu pondered and asked, does Mother Earth have any branches, or anything else that looks more gorgeous? Feng Qiuyan's eyes lit up, and she smiled. Mother Earth once made a wooden sword to suppress the sacred gods in the worlds. It's called the Mother Earth Primordial Sword. This sword is right in the temple, let me fetch it. She went into the main hall of the dilapidated temple excitedly, and Qin Mu followed her in. He saw Feng Qiuyan bowing respectfully to the god statue of Mother Earth, before walking to the back of the statue. On the wall hung a wooden sword. Qin Mu was dumbfounded, and he asked, this wooden sword is the Mother Earth primordial sword that is used to suppress the worlds. It's hung right here. Feng Qiuyan nodded her head. It's this sword, it's usually hung here. Qin Mu had a weird expression as he glanced around the temple. His gaze landed on items like the offering table, shrine, incense burner, screen, as well as the praying mat. Could the 2 bronze bells hanging under the roof be good stuff too? As that thought crossed his mind, Feng Qiuyan started to clamor about wanting to head to Jade Capital City. Qin Mu smiled and asked, Big Sister, what is your identity in front of Mother Earth? Feng Qiuyan hesitated for a moment and said in shame, my phoenix race originally resided on the top of the primordial tree, and lived under Mother Earth's roof, being protected by her. Thus, I usually pulled the carriage for Mother Earth. I'm one of the 8 phoenixes used to pull the carriage for Mother Earth. Qi Xiaoyu was originally one of the 8 phoenixes, but she defected. Qin Mu muttered, you pull the carriage, Sister Yang is a maid, there will definitely be half-gods that recognize both of you and suspect your identity. My younger brother's cultivation is low, and the Qilins are dumb and useless. In that case, I will just have to inconvenience myself and be the disciple of Mother Earth. Feng Qiuyan was stunned and didn't understand what he meant. Qin Mu sighed and said, I'll just force myself to be Mother Earth's envoy and disciple to quell the rebellion, both of you will be my maids. In that case, I'll have to inconvenience Sister Qiuyan to hold my Mother Earth primordial sword. Sister Yang and Brother Lan's hands are still empty, do you have any other treasures? If we look too shabby, people will see through us. Feng Qiuyan said, wait a minute, there's still a horsetail whisk, Mother Earth made it using the roots of the primordial tree and rivers. It's called the 6 Directions Origin Sword. The other is the Mountains and Rivers Cauldron, which is used by Mother Earth to suppress the earthquakes. I'll fetch them. She rummaged under the offering table, and took out a horsetail whisk from a bunch of scattered items. She then poured out the ashes inside the incense cauldron and gave it a wash. It's still usable. Qin Mu's heart twitched. This small temple actually had so many items, it was so terrifying. Yang, you hold the horsetail whisk. Feng Qiuyan handed the horsetail whisk to Gongsun Yang and said, this horsetail whisk is very heavy, and when activated with vital qi, the strands of horsetail will transform into sword light formed from mountains and rivers. It's very dangerous to control it, so be careful. Celestial Venerable Yu, come over here. She looked at the dazed Celestial Venerable Yu and shook her head. It's best if you don't carry the cauldron, let me place the cauldron in the halo behind you. She lifted up the mountains and rivers cauldron, and it flew into the halo behind Celestial Venerable Yu's head, hovering up and down. She then looked at Qin Mu and asked, can we leave now? Qin Mu gave off a troubled expression. I don't have any treasure on me, I look slightly unpresentable. Feng Qiuyan blinked her eyes. We are your maids, and you even have a boy servant. The treasures in our hands are all for you to use, so if you carry a treasure personally, wouldn't you be losing your authority? Qin Mu gave a dry laugh, and his face was slightly gloomy. That's true. However, the ostentation isn't big enough, if we can have Mother Earth's carriage. Feng Qiuyan sneered and said, that would be Mother Earth personally going out. This ostentation is enough, let's hurry in case that little slut runs away. Her speed is pretty fast. Qin Mu turned back to look at the huge bells hanging under the eaves and the other items, like the screen and praying mat, before sighing to himself. If I had more time, I could construct a carriage and get Fatty Dragon and Ah Shui to pull it. Brother Lan could then sit on the shaft of the carriage and hold a whip, while both sisters could lean on my left and right leg as I sit on the throne behind the curtain. Feng Qiuyan hurried him. After we slay the little slut and revive Mother Earth, we'll let you be that awe-inspiring for once, okay? We don't have time now, let's quickly go over now. Qin Mu threw a glance at the Dragon Qilin, and the Dragon Qilin understood him. He rolled on the ground and transformed into a huge beast that was 120 yards. Qin Mu rubbed Celestial Venerable Yu's face to change his appearance to look like a boy servant. He took out a sword pellet, and his sword pellet transformed into a collar with a rope. He got the water Qilin to transform into a half-god, with a Qilin head to hold the rope in front. Gongsun Yang and Feng Qiuyan moved to the Dragon Qilin's head, and Qin Mu sat down. He got Celestial Venerable Yu to stand behind him, while he pulled Gongsun Yang over to let the young girl lay on his shoulder. He was still planning to pull Feng Qiuyan over as well, but he got stared down by her. She threatened to pull out the wooden sword. Qin Mu could only give up on this thought as he said, Fatty Dragon, let's go meet this fake Mother Earth. The Dragon Qilin hurriedly grew clouds under his feet and rode on the clouds. The water Qilin stayed in front and led him towards Jade Capital City. Qin Mu revealed a slight smile as he looked forward. He thought to himself, Sister Qiuyan was sent by Mother Earth to supervise me in case I run away. If Qi Xiaoyu kills Sister Qiuyan, I will be able to steal these treasures and run. The more he thought about it, the more excited he was. His smile also gradually widened. Qi Xiaoyu is the nine-headed phoenix, and she is even on Emperor's throne realm. Her abilities are immeasurable, and just her zither notes alone are able to injure Sakura Buddha heavily. Even with the Mother Earth primordial sword in Feng Qiuyan's hand, she will just be sending her life to Qi Xiaoyu. I can take this chance to run. He held Gongsun Yang's small hands and still wore a smile on his face. He caused the heart of the girl beside him to thump heavily, and she kept looking over at him. However, Qin Mu completely didn't realize the abnormal state of the girl beside him, and continued to guide the power of the Earth Aeon Dao fruit into Gongsun Yang's body. He thought to himself, Scholar is also in Jade Capital City, she can help me resolve this Mother Earth's blessing, and with Sister Yang absorbing the energy of the Earth Aeon Dao fruit, I'll be able to completely break free of Mother Earth's control. Gongsun Yang was absorbing the energy of the Earth Aeon Dao fruit faster than him, but Qin Mu was still slightly impatient. No matter how much of the energy of the Earth Aeon Dao fruit was absorbed, the energy in the fruit didn't seem to decrease. If the Earth Aeon Dao fruit can't be cleanly absorbed in a short while, I can only kidnap Sister Yang. Qin Mu looked at the girl beside him and gave an innocent and radiant smile. Gongsun Yang blushed and tilted her head. She stared at the manet on the dragon Qilin's neck, and her heart became flustered. What if he suddenly kisses me? What should I do? Should I struggle and resist, or should I act angry? Or should I let him kiss first before slapping him? Qin Mu didn't make any advances, and she sighed to herself in relief. However, she was also slightly dejected and thought, so he's even shyer than me. After kidnapping Sister Yang, I can borrow her primordial spirit to absorb the Earth Aeon Dao fruit completely. Qin Mu's brows jumped, and he almost revealed a smile of exultation. I can even get a hold of the Mother Earth primordial sword, the mountains and rivers cauldron, and the Six Directions origin sword. This is perfect. Ugh, it's a pity I couldn't get Mother Earth's carriage. Jade Capital City was right in front. The water Qilin led the dragon Qilin into the city. The numinous Sky Hall had an austere atmosphere. This place was originally the North Celestial Heavens of the High Emperor era, and the numinous Sky Hall was where the ministers would discuss affairs during High Emperor court meetings. Thus, the space in the main hall was vast. Now, this main hall had thousands of gods of all sizes, and they were all looking nervously at the man and woman competing with their zither skills in the hall. They were afraid of being hit by the aftermath. Zither sounds rang in the hall, and the ones playing the zither were a scholar, who had a donkey behind him, and red deity Qi Xiaoyu, who had clouds tinged with sunset hues behind her, which looked like feathers of a phoenix. One was in the east, one was in the west, and there was nobody around them. Even the strongest half-gods were standing far away from them. These two people played their zithers, and Scholar had abandoned all restraint. The zither continuously swirled around her, and it was as if Scholar had grown countless arms. Moving her fingers up and down, she displayed astonishing techniques. In terms of temperament and fingering, she was already perfect and flawless. On the other hand, Qi Xiaoyu looked calm and composed. She didn't have as many techniques as Scholar did, and instead, she had a simple and plain mood. Yet, her temperament was filled with such boundless emotions. Scholar's attainments in technique were unparalleled, and even Qi Xiaoyu couldn't be compared to her. She could be considered to be the perfect example of temperament, but in terms of emotions, she was far inferior to Qi Xiaoyu. Even though her zither notes also had emotions, they didn't have a myriad of changes like Qi Xiaoyu had. Both of their zither notes attacked each other, and the space around them could be seen slowly warping. Sometimes it was stretched, while other times it could become thin layers of membrane. Space seemed to become notes that could be seen with the naked eye as they continuously danced around them. Over time, Scholar was no match for her. Her forearts had reached the height of being unrivaled in the world, but her natural lack of emotions had restrained her from advancing one step forward. The four great heavenly teachers of the founding emperor era all had their achievements, and what they were good at. However, Scholar's nature had a flaw, and so she was inferior to Qi Xiaoyu, who dared to love and hate, having a vast amount of emotions. Her inferiority gradually showed, and suddenly, the donkey behind her stood up to transform into a donkey devil king. Opening his mouth, he started braying loudly, and it was extremely piercing to the ears. Both women's notes were messed up, and they held down onto their zithers. That donkey's bray was so piercing that all of the strong practitioners couldn't help frowning and covering their ears. In the hall, no matter if it was half-gods or the gods, all of them looked at these two people in fear. They were also slightly afraid of that donkey. Luckily, the battle between the zithers was aimed at each other. If it were aimed at them, there would be a great number of casualties among the strong practitioners in this hall. However, there were also 6 to 7 people who didn't have a change in expression. Their cultivation and abilities were high, and they weren't afraid of scholar, or Qi Xiaoyu. Ha 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 ha, I've still lost. Scholar put away her zither and bowed to Red Deity Qi Xiaoyu. Red Deity's abilities are indeed extraordinary. After so many years, you are still able to be better than me. Heavenly Teacher Zi Shi is polite. Qi Xiaoyu got up to return the greeting. Her gaze wavered as she was also rather afraid of her. She wasn't willing to fight to the death with her and said with a smile, "We have fought before Mother Earth has even appeared, aren't we making a fool out of ourselves?" Scholar's gaze swept past these thousands of strong practitioners, and she said with a smile, "Envoys from the extraterritorial celestial heavens, Sword God of High Emperor, subordinates of Mother Earth, as well as Red Deity, and Heavenly Teacher of Founding Emperor. All of us are gathered here and reached here after great effort through a journey filled with danger, yet the owner isn't here. What is this logic?" Qi Xiaoyu was slightly indolent, and she looked around with a smile. "That's right. I heard rumors that Mother Earth has been dead for a long time, and now she has suddenly appeared again, with the primordial realm resurfacing to the world. Furthermore, she also summoned her old subordinates. Even though I'm Red Deity of the celestial heavens, I had still served Mother Earth in my early years, so how could I not come and pay my respects? It's a pity I still can't see Mother Earth." Suddenly, her gaze landed on Bai Chua, and she saw her wearing plain clothes with a sword behind her back. She was looking over as well. Qi Xiaoyu felt guilt in her heart, and hurriedly avoided her gaze. Her gaze met with a one-armed man with a divine knife on his back, and he bowed slightly. Qi Xiaoyu nodded her head gently and thought to herself, "Divine Knife Luo is here, and this means other strong practitioners of the celestial heavens are also here. Mother Earth is indeed dead, so could it be the celestial heavens laying out a trap with Mother Earth's name to lure all these people here to capture them in one fell swoop?" The hall had a mix of good people and scumbags, no matter if it was the half-gods or gods, they all had their aims. They weren't simple. Qi Xiaoyu even saw numerous terrifying existences among the half-gods. Even though their abilities were inferior to hers, their numbers weren't few. They were all people that were hard to deal with. Outside the hall, there were even countless half-gods lined up neatly. They waited quietly outside the numinous Sky Hall, as though they were soldiers waiting for inspection. Suddenly, a voice came out from the back of the hall. "Sorry to make everyone wait for quite a while, Mother Earth will arrive shortly." The reputable, strong practitioners in the hall looked towards the sound, and from where the voice came from, several young girls walked around a screen and escorted a girl out. That girl had delicate features and rosy lips. First, only half of her face could be seen as she walked out from the screen with the women, but when she turned her face, everyone's hearts stirred, and they exclaimed to themselves, "What a beauty." The halo behind the girl's head wavered slightly, as she greeted everyone. "Back then, my teacher, Mother Earth, suffered severe injuries and had no choice but to seal the primordial realm. Now that the primordial realm has resurfaced, my teacher has summoned everyone forward to regroup our old force and make a comeback. My teacher. This girl is Mother Earth's disciple." Everyone's hearts were shaken. Qi Xiaoyu looked at that girl and said with a smile, "There's no harm in waiting a while. However, why didn't I know that Mother Earth has taken in a disciple? Mother Earth never takes in disciples, and even the high emperors of North Celestial Heavens were at most her sons and daughters. You, the disciple, puzzles me slightly." The girl gave a slight smile and said, "Mother Earth originally didn't take in disciples, but after she was severely injured the previous time, she took me in as her disciple. Red Deity was just someone who pulled my master's carriage back then, what would you know?" Qi Xiaoyu held back her anger and said with a smile, when Mother Earth is out, I'll settle this with you. Bai Chua asked gently, this sister, how can you prove you are Mother Earth's disciple? That girl looked at her and said with a smile, so it's Sword God Bai of the fake dynasty. This halo behind my head is a blessing from Mother Earth, blessing me from never aging, never dying, and endless prosperity. Is that proof enough? Bai Chua looked at the halo behind her head, and she couldn't differentiate real and fake. Just the halo alone isn't enough to determine if you are real or fake. Divine Knife Luo suddenly opened his mouth to speak. Mother Earth's divine arts are remarkable, and she's one of the ancient gods with the most complicated Tao and skills. Even His Majesty is full of respect for Mother Earth. Have you learned Mother Earth's divine arts? That girl looked at him and said with a smile, so, it's one-armed Divine Knife Luo of the fake dynasty. The 36 Great Tao of Mother Earth. I am rather skilled in all 36 Great Tao. Scholar smiled and said, words aren't proof. That girl said, Heavenly Teacher Zishi of the fake dynasty, please don't be impatient. So what if I'm real or fake? When Mother Earth is here later, and everyone sees the true Mother Earth, won't you know if it's real or fake? Scholar's heart shook slightly. She even knows about me. I'm a person from the founding emperor era, and at that time, Mother Earth should have been long dead and the primordial realm should have been sealed. Only the great ruins is left. How would she know me? She doesn't seem old, and her cultivation isn't too high. She's not an old monster, so she can't know about me. She said South Dynasty, the extraterritorial celestial heavens, and founding Emperor Celestial Heavens as fake dynasties. Could she come from that high Emperor Celestial Heavens from Mother Earth? Could Mother Earth still be alive, and looking at what happened to the founding Emperor era quietly from underground? Suddenly, a dragon-headed half-god said solemnly, I've personally seen Mother Earth being killed. Her corporeal body was severed, and her heart was pierced through. It's impossible that she's still alive. Also, this small sister, impersonating Mother Earth, to call us here, is a crime punishable by death. That girl looked at him and said solemnly, so, it's Ancestral Dragon King. Mother Earth was attacked and suffered heavy injuries, but as one of the most ancient and worthy ancient gods, how could she die just like that? Ancestral Dragon King, can you imagine Earth Count, or Heaven Duke being killed? That half-god pondered for a moment. I can't. But I saw it, Mother Earth was clearly dead. That girl said with a smile, what you see with your eyes might not be the truth. Mother Earth is still alive, and after cultivating for these tens of thousands of years, she has finally recovered from her injuries and can summon everyone over today. Everyone can choose not to believe me, the disciple of Mother Earth, but when the true body of Mother Earth comes forth personally, you will have no choice but to believe. Right at this moment, a laugh suddenly came from the outside of the hall. This sister, you are the disciple of Mother Earth. How do I not know my master Mother Earth has taken in a female disciple? Everyone turned to look back, and Scholar's heart skipped a beat. What has this kid came here for? He truly doesn't know the immensity of heaven and earth. The donkey behind her revealed an astonished expression, and asked with a low voice, oui. Scholar nodded and suppressed his anger. Oui? That's his voice. That rascal, how dare he impersonate Mother Earth's disciple to mingle in here? And when Bai Chua heard this voice, her body froze, and she revealed a look of disbelief. She turned back and looked out of the hall with a dazed look while muttering under her breath. Your voice has appeared again, this isn't a hallucination. The divine knife in the knife sheath behind one-armed Divine Knife Luo was giving off low hums. It was incomparably excited. Luo Wushuang was also incomparably excited, and he looked out of the hall. He laughed softly to himself. 40,000 years. I've waited for you painstakingly for 40,000 years. Your voice, I've never forgotten it. Whenever I swing my knife, your figure always appears in my mind, your voice always rings beside my ears. In front of the gate of the numinous Sky Hall, a Qin-headed half-god was pulling onto a shiny rope and leading a behemoth into the hall. That behemoth was half dragon and half Qin, looking rather handsome and formidable. Meanwhile, on the dragon Qilin's huge head, a woman was carrying a wooden sword in her hands. There was sunlight hanging around her body, and the sunlight was like colorful phoenixes and flowing flames. There was also a woman who had a wavering halo behind her head. In the halo was a small sapling, and in her arms was a horsetail whisk. She had traits that were free from vulgarity, and she was leaning on the shoulder of a youth. Behind the youth was a boy servant with layers of light behind his head, and a huge cauldron was hovering up and down inside. Meanwhile, that youth seemed slightly languid and looked at that young girl in front of the emperor's throne in the numinous Sky Hall with a smile that was yet not a smile. He didn't get up from the dragon Qilin's head and just smiled. By right, I should call you senior sister, but it's a pity my master didn't take you in as her disciple. Who are you? In the numinous Sky Hall, commotions broke out, and there were discussions everywhere. The water Qin saw so many sacred gods, and he started to shiver. His legs were slightly wobbly as he braced himself to lead the dragon Qin towards the emperor's throne. The celestial heavens, this is High Emperor Celestial Heavens, and the emperor's throne is right in front, the place where Celestial Emperor sat. Where is my luck coming from to be able to come so close to the emperor's throne? The dragon Qin yawned and looked around. He stretched out his tongue and licked his lips, looking ferocious and mean. He thought to himself, thousands of strong practitioners over here, and each one of them could easily beat me to death. However, even if the sky collapses, there's Cult Master. In front of the emperor's throne, that girl was astonished, and she couldn't react for a moment. The dragon Qin came to the front of the emperor's throne and stopped. Qin Mu stood up and looked down at this girl from above. He said with a smile that was yet not a smile, "Senior sister, could you give me an explanation?" The astonishment on that girl's face gradually faded, and she burst out in laughter. Heavenly Saint Cult Master of Eternal Peace Empire, Qin Mu Qin Fengqing, when have you become Mother Earth's disciple? How mischievous of you. Scholar clenched her fist, and took down a small bag from the donkey's back. She thought to herself, looks like I have to lend a hand to save this kid. How daring of him to impersonate anybody, getting completely exposed right off the bat. At least change your appearance. I'm fake. Qin Mu laughed loudly. You are fake. Behind him, Luo Wushuang's voice rang out word for word. My old friend from the High Emperor era, do you remember that night when you severed an arm of a youth with your sword? Qin Mu turned back, and his gaze landed on Luo Wushuang. He then searched among the young people in Spirit Elite Guards, and he saw that they were all men and women with one arm. Yet, he still found Zhou, and his heart sank. Fu Riluo, you have still rebelled. He shifted away from his gaze and ignored Luo Wushuang. At this moment, he saw another girl that looked very lonely in the crowd. Both of their gazes met, and everything around Qin Mu seemed to vanish. It was as if he had returned to that night where he laid beside this girl to wait for the break of dawn. To Qin Mu, that night was merely a few years ago, but to that girl, 40,000 years had already passed. What bewildered Qin Mu was that even though 40,000 years had passed, Bai Chua still looked the same as when he had seen her for the first time. There was no transformation at all. She didn't grow up, and she still looked like that cute and lively girl he had met in 100 Prosperities City that night. The beautiful hair on her forehead concealed a pair of small dragon horns. What had changed was her temperament. He didn't know what she had gone through, but her timidness and delicateness had been swept away. She was now filled with drive, initiative, and a lack of fear. Qin Mu didn't know that before dawn came, he had become the motivation that had supported her and the immigrants of High Emperor to stay alive. He didn't know that after the dawn broke, he was the one that had motivated her to survive. He was the motivation for her to bring those weak immigrants to continue living. Despite being 40,000 years apart, it was as if they had met for the first time. Both of their appearances hadn't changed much. Qin Mu had grown, and Bai Chua's temperament had changed. Those were the only differences. Qin Mu smiled, and that girl on the opposite side also smiled. They averted their gaze like they were boys and girls that had never seen the opposite sex before. If they continued to stare at each other, they would have blushed. With his spirit reinvigorated, his mood was suddenly much more pleasant. He said with a smile, as the disciple of Mother Earth, "I still have to prove my genuineness to you guys. What a joke, how pathetic. I also have the blessing of Mother Earth." The halo behind his head slowly swirled, and it contained the power of Mother Earth. And also the Earth Aeon Dao fruit bore from the primordial tree. Qin Mu slowly looked around, and he said calmly, "As for who the maids beside me are, I believe numerous seniors present should have seen them before. These treasures of mine are all forged by Mother Earth herself. I have these, so what do you have?" That girl's expression didn't change, and she just smirked. "Feng Qiuyan, right? Feng Qiuyan has long betrayed Mother Earth. Of course, if it wasn't for Feng Qiuyan and the Phoenix race's betrayal, Mother Earth wouldn't have suffered such a miserable defeat. Am I right, Senior Sister Feng?" Feng Qiuyan became angry and agitated. "You're slandering me. You little girl, I'll tear you apart." Qin Mu raised his hand and said in a low voice, "Sister Qiuyan, calm down. There are many half-gods here. If you lose control, you will be easily targeted by everyone and get used by her." Feng Qiuyan felt apprehensive, and she hurriedly turned back to look. She indeed saw numerous half-gods giving suspicious looks. That girl said with a smile, "Feng Qiuyan betrayed Mother Earth, but there are still many righteous subjects that are loyal to Mother Earth, thus she was able to safeguard her life. There are also several traitors. So how do you prove that the treasures in your hands are Mother Earth's treasures?" Qin Mu looked at this girl in front of the Emperor's throne and he smirked. "Sword." He raised his hand, and Feng Qiuyan was slightly stunned. She quickly came back to her senses, and placed the Mother Earth primordial sword into his hands. "Be careful, it's very heavy." Qin Mu gave a slight smile, and poured his vital qi into the Mother Earth primordial sword. The power of this divine sword was instantly activated, and the magnetic forces grew berserk. Divine rays that could be seen with the naked eye formed. Grunts sounded out, and everyone in the numinous sky hall could feel immense pressure. The power from this wooden sword wasn't merely power from divine arts, there was a section of divine power. The divine power that Mother Earth possessed to suppress the heavens and worlds. That was the magnetic force, that had a power which was as heavy as the land of the primordial realm. Qin Mu also immediately felt the weight of this wooden sword becoming astonishing. He almost couldn't lift it. He immediately took back a portion of his vital qi, and only then did he felt much better. Whoosh! He raised this wooden sword vertically. This sword moved very slow, yet its power was immense. He stabbed forward. The numerous women around the girl raised their eyebrows, and were about to stop him when that girl smiled. She raised an index finger, and the women beside her didn't dare to make any abnormal move. Qin Mu stabbed this sword to the heart of her brows before stopping. However, that heavy sound still hadn't stopped. The upheaval brought by the magnetic force caused the entire main hall to sway. Rumblings could be heard coming from outside the main hall. Numerous half-gods and gods standing in front of the gates got thrown into the sky and flew out of the hall. Everyone soared into the sky and looked towards the back of the hall. After Qin Mu had stabbed, huge mountains rose steeply from the ground, and the rumblings were endless. It was incomparably astonishing, as though the power of his sword had exploded everything behind the numinous sky hall. In the vast jade capital city, countless halls were blasted into pieces, as majestic mountains came tunneling out from the ground at an astonishing speed. They smashed the ancient ruin of the celestial heavens into smithereens. Just one sword had destroyed 1/10 of Jade Capital City. It's the Mother Earth primordial sword. An ancient half-god cried out. It's this sword that suppressed the worlds. Ancestral Dragon King, this is the sword, right? Ancestral Dragon King was also astonished, and his voice was slightly hoarse. This is the sword. Mother Earth forged it with the primordial tree, and it contains the divine power of Mother Earth. Back then, when Mother Earth was alive, she didn't have to descend personally. She just had to get someone to go forth with this sword, and once the primordial sword was out of the sheath, all the worlds would be scared into submission. Those who didn't submit. A devil god that was in the sky above the primordial realm said coldly, were killed by this wooden sword. Scholar led the donkey over, and when she saw the mountain range that had destroyed 1/10 of Jade Capital City, she frowned slightly. And at this moment, Qin Mu, who was holding the Mother Earth primordial sword, was feeling anxious. He didn't see how this sword had destroyed all of those halls in Jade Capital City. Why is the power of this sword so weak? I didn't use my full strength just now, so let me try once more. He then raised the wooden sword and stabbed out once more. With this sword, he used even more vital qi, and the wooden sword became even heavier. He almost couldn't raise it to stab. The space in the hall rumbled with shocking momentum, as countless divine rays of magnetism surged out. Even though it sounded powerful, this Mother Earth primordial sword didn't display much power. This wooden sword didn't even cause much destruction to the numinous sky hall. Could this sword of mine be fake? Beads of cold sweat rolled down Qin Mu's forehead, as he stabbed repeatedly. Outside the hall, even Scholar and that donkey were flabbergasted. They looked at Jade Capital City in shock. Terrifying waves traveled over, and mountain range after mountain range rose steeply from the ground at the back of Jade Capital City. Countless palaces and halls were thrown into the air, and they shattered into pieces. Every mountain range was 1,000 miles long, and the mountain peaks were visions formed from the explosion of the divine power of magnetism. In the blink of an eye, this vast Jade Capital City was more or less half destroyed. King of Destruction. No wonder when I try to ask for information about him in eternal peace, everyone that knows him calls him Demolisher Qin. Cold sweat rolled down Scholar's forehead when she suddenly said, Lu Jing, did you hear what divine knife Luo of the extraterritorial celestial heavens said just now? That donkey nodded his head, and his donkey face was incomparably serious. We? Divine knife Luo said his arm was severed by Demolisher Qin. Scholar seemed like she was talking to the donkey, and yet she was muttering to herself. She lowered her voice and said, however, he also said his arm was severed by High Emperor Overlord Body. Now, this is weird. Could High Emperor Overlord Body and Eternal Peace Overlord Body be the same person? In that case High Emperor Sword God's sword skills. Her eyes widened, and she hurriedly shook her head. Impossible. Definitely impossible. Rumble. Jade Capital City trembled as another 1,000-mile mountain range surged out from the ground, squeezing the other mountain ranges to lean at crazy angles. Everyone hurriedly returned to the numinous sky hall, and they looked at the youth standing on the dragon Chilin's head in terror. That youth returned the sword to maid Feng Chuyan beside him. He then turned towards the maid, who had a sapling in the halo behind her head, and said, Pass me the 6 directions origin sword. Everyone's blood ran cold. Gongsun Yang passed the horsetail whisk in her arms to Qin Mu. Qin Mu shook the horsetail whisk, and he was about to execute this treasure when Ancestral Dragon King suddenly said solemnly, Young Master Qin, there's no need to test. If you continue to test, Jade Capital City will cease to exist. These few treasures are, without a doubt, the supreme treasures of Mother Earth. The other half-gods said in succession, these are indeed Mother Earth's treasure. Young Master Qin has no need to test anymore. Qin Mu was flabbergasted. How did they confirm these are Mother Earth's treasures? I stabbed 6 to 7 times, but I couldn't feel any power at all. However, since this had dispelled the doubts in everyone's heart, it worked for him as well. Qin Mu handed the horsetail whisk back to Gongsun Yang. An ancestral dragon king let out a sigh along with the rest of the half-gods. He said to Qin Mu, "Young Master Qin, you are indeed Mother Earth's disciple. May I ask where Mother Earth is? May I please pay my respects to her?" Feng Qiuyan replied without thinking, "Mother Earth suffered heavy injuries, and she still has yet." Qin Mu's expression changed slightly, and he hurriedly pressed down on her hand. Feng Qiuyan didn't understand his intention, and suddenly, Qin Mu's brainwaves traveled over and exploded in her mind. "Sister Qiuyan, don't reveal Mother Earth's circumstances. These half-gods are up to no good." Feng Qiuyan felt a shiver running down her bones as she looked at the heads of the half-gods. Ancestral Dragon King and the rest were the chiefs of various big races during the High Emperor era, and their abilities were profound and immeasurable. When Mother Earth was alive, her awe was so strong, and all of the races couldn't get a breather. If Mother Earth was fine, they wouldn't dare to rebel. If Mother Earth was dead, only then would they be relieved of their burdens. And if Mother Earth was severely injured, they would be willing to get rid of Mother Earth and throw a pile of dirt on her grave. When Feng Qiuyan thought until here, beads of cold sweat broke out on her forehead. Ancestral Dragon King and the rest have the opposite intention. They are trying to get information out from me. Ancestral Dragon King asked in concern, "Senior Sister Feng, how are Mother Earth's injuries? We old ministers have been waiting all these years for Mother Earth's news, and we are truly anxious. Now that we have the rare opportunity of meeting Mother Earth's disciple, we must go forward and pay our respects to her, to bow down to her." Feng Qiuyan felt her scalp crawling. Suddenly, Qin Mu laughed loudly. "Ancestral Dragon King, calm down. We have important matters at hand. What other things does this sister have to say? Why are you impersonating Mother Earth's disciple? What are you coveting?" He changed the topic and turned everyone's attention to this girl. This girl burst into laughter. "You traitors stole Mother Earth's treasures, and you come to pose as her disciple, masquerading yourself. Those who are in the dark are tricked by you. Heavenly Saint Cult Master Qin, you are truly a giant among men." Qin Mu smiled. That girl said leisurely, "However, you can explain all you want, but you can never change a fact." She suddenly bowed and said, "Mother Earth, please descend." Just as she said that, an incomparably heavy aura descended on them. The kind of aura that was as heavy as the land instantly shrouded the entire Jade Capital City. It was majestic, abstruse, and heavy, like the land of the primordial realm, and as deep as a bottomless abyss. Everyone was intimidated by a kind of natural god's power, and they felt that the space in their surroundings was becoming heavier as well. The numinous sky hall suddenly broke down into pieces, as countless bricks came flying up. The roof, walls, pillars, and ground all flew up and floated into the distance. The entire main hall vanished in the distance, and only the place where everyone stood was left. Under their feet, mountains rose and stretched out in all directions. The majestic mountains were so tall that they reached the clouds. Yet when looking at them in detail, everyone would realize that those weren't mountains. They were incomparably thick roots. They raised their heads with difficulty, and saw an incomparably ancient divine tree standing between heaven and earth. Its roots were planted into the land of the primordial realm. It was ancient, boundless, and the vein lines presented on its bark seemed to be the natural markings of Tao. The trunk of this divine tree was simply too thick, and it looked like it was being formed by Mount Meru. It was even thicker than Mount Meru, and looking upward, one could see all of the worlds seeming to be floating between the divine tree and its crown. Such a magnificent sight was dazzling to see. Under the tree, that girl bowed. Mother Earth, please. Under the tree crown, a goddess with tens of thousands of postures floated down from the tree. She landed on the ground gently with her bare feet. She was naturally born from the charm of Tao, and she bore the thickness of the earth, which gives birth to all living things. She had a temperament that others couldn't imitate. And her appearance was the same as the god statue of Mother Earth Qin Mu had seen in Mother Earth Temple. The corners of Qin Mu's eyes twitched violently. He looked at Feng Qiuyan, then he looked at the girl before raising his head to look at this Mother Earth in front of him. He was slightly at a loss. Even though he had seen Mother Earth's broken soul in the earthly palace, a voice in his heart told him that this Mother Earth wasn't fake. This is much more complicated than I've imagined. Aren't we here to seek revenge on Qi Xiaoyu? Feng Qiuyan will attack Big Sister Qi and get killed by her while I shall sweep away all the treasures and run. Why has it become so complicated and bizarre now? Qin Mu felt his head swelling up, and he secretly opened up the willow leaf on the heart of his brows. In Qin Word Land, Earth Count, Heaven Duke, Crimson Emperor, and Great Sun Sovereign were currently drinking tea with an old Buddha. Suddenly, the sky lit up, and Heaven Duke chuckled. Old Buddha, you rarely wake up, so you have never experienced such a situation, right? This is Son of Qin opening the willow leaf seal on the heart of his brows to let in some air for us. Brahma Buddha raised his head to look at the sky before sighing. What a sin! To suppress Son of Yudu, we actually need so many experts to stand guard here. Furthermore, we still rarely get some air in here. Far away, Qin Fengqing's face was all bruised as he sat among the mountains. His two chubby legs were folded up, and he sulked as he crossed his arms in front of his chest. The old Buddha that was suppressing them in midair woke up, and he suddenly came down from the sky. He came to beat up the old Buddha, only to be beaten up by the 5 strong practitioners in Qin Word Land. He didn't even get time to use the slaughter cauldron when he got thrashed badly by the elders. The elders took the best position in this prison and chased him to the mountains. This big-headed baby was thinking of how to seize back his territory, but the slaughter cauldron had been snatched away by the elders and suppressed by Lava Earth Count. He couldn't snatch it back. If he had the slaughter cauldron in his hands, he could still find back leverage. By working together with Bad Brother, we can suppress these old men. The big-headed baby looked into the sky, and he thought to himself, after suppressing the old men and Bad Brother here, I will be able to run out and enjoy. Suddenly, Qin Mu's consciousness came from the sky, and he asked, Heaven Duke, Earth Count, come take a look and see if that's Mother Earth. Buddha is awake. His consciousness landed on the ground and transformed into a human form to greet everyone. Heaven Duke said with a smile, old Buddha woke up not too long ago. He said the primordial realm was unsealed and the great ruins transformed into the primordial realm. Even the 20 heavens of Buddha realm have no choice but to connect with the primordial realm, forcing him to have no choice but to wake up. It's also lucky old Buddha woke up, or else this place would have been dominated by your brother. Crimson Emperor said, Old Buddha brought some good tea, son of Qin, come and have a taste. Qin Mu hurriedly shook his head. I have no time for tea, please help me check if the Mother Earth outside is the real deal. When I came to where Mother Earth had fallen, I saw the broken soul of Mother Earth. She only has her Earth soul left, and she's hiding in an underground palace with 9 imperial tombs of the various high emperors. It doesn't seem to be fake. I even helped her summon her soul. However, there's another Mother Earth now, and she also looks like the genuine one. That happened. The elder got up and looked out of the sky. They borrowed Qin Mu's third eye to look at that Mother Earth sitting silently under the primordial tree. That ancient god had a vast body, and the other gods seemed extremely tiny standing beside her. Even though Mother Earth's corporeal body was very huge, it was much smaller compared to Heaven Duke and Earth Count's immeasurably huge bodies. It wasn't as exaggerating. Even so, to the other life forms and half-gods, she was still inconceivably huge. This is Mother Earth. Lava Earth Count said, without a doubt. My eyes are more powerful than any life and death book. I can see through the essence of a soul, so I won't be wrong. Her soul is Mother Earth's soul. Heaven Duke said, her corporeal body is indeed Mother Earth's corporeal body. If it's fake, it's difficult to escape from my heavenly eyes. Son of Qin, the Mother Earth you have met in the earthly palace is definitely a fake. Qin Mu was in a daze, and he shook his head. I personally gathered the souls for that Mother Earth, and helped her gather the black soul sand of her heaven soul and life soul. It's impossible for Mother Earth to have other souls lost outside. Mother Earth wouldn't have twice the number of souls by chance, right? He suddenly came to a realization and cried out, saying, Mother Earth is Celestial Empress of the Dragon Han Celestial Heavens. She's a twin. This Mother Earth is actually the true Mother Earth's elder sister, or younger sister. Heaven Duke shook his head and said, you are overthinking things. Mother Earth is not that pair of twin flowers. Celestial Empress and her sister have another origin, moreover. He didn't continue saying and just said, in any case, it's not them. That's weird. If this is Mother Earth, who's that Mother Earth you were summoning the souls for in the earthly palace? Lava Earth Count's voice was slightly dark, and it made him shiver without feeling cold. Son of Qin, who were you summoning the soul for? Qin Mu's mind was blown, and he was dumb like wooden chicken. He said with difficulty, you are saying I was tricked by someone. That's impossible, right? There are numerous half-gods in the earthly palace that are Mother Earth's old subordinates. If I'm tricked, they wouldn't be tricked as well, right? They were all lying dormant with Mother Earth in the earthly palace when Mother Earth got killed. Everyone frowned. Crimson Emperor said, is there a possibility that another Mother Earth could be born from the primordial tree? He saw that Qin Mu was puzzled and made a suggestion. Mother Earth is originally born from the primordial tree. When I founded the Crimson Light era, I paid a visit to her and know her roots. Heaven Duke shook his head. The primordial tree is already dead. There can't be another Mother Earth to replace the original Mother Earth. Crimson Emperor, what you are saying is just deliberate exaggeration to scare people. It's not a deliberate exaggeration. Brahma Buddha suddenly said, there's indeed such a method. Furthermore, this method was created by me. Everyone looked at him, and Brahma Buddha let out a sigh. My technique had taken shape during the Dragon Han era. In simpler terms, entering the path with a dream was too much of a fantasy. It is actually transforming into tens of thousands of myself to roam and train myself, experiencing the world of mortals, experiencing countless calamities. These worlds of mortals are just like imaginary dreams to me, yet those versions of me have true souls, true corporeal bodies, and true experiences. Their cultivation, experiences, and Tao hearts would all finally return to me to become my dreams. Heaven Duke praised and said, old Buddha's Buddhist scriptures experienced boundless calamities, and see clearly the world of mortals, thus it was coveted by the celestial heavens, and they wanted to get their hands on it. Brahma Buddha shook his head and said, they aren't after the Buddha nature in my technique. They are just collecting techniques on Emperor's throne realm for celestial heavens realm. In order to have a complete celestial heavens realm, there's a simple method, and that is to find 36 Emperor's throne techniques that aren't repeated to form a celestial heavens technique. And even though the Emperor's throne techniques in this world aren't few, there are many repeated ones, thus it is extremely difficult. My boundless calamities from entering the path with a dream is one of them. Great Sun Sovereign suddenly came to realization and asked, Old Buddha, could this technique allow a new soul to be born from a corpse? Brahma Buddha said with a smile, even a new soul could be born from an illusory dream, much less a corpse. Heaven Duke probed and said, but you had never imparted this technique. The Buddhist scriptures you have imparted are all the other Buddhist scriptures you comprehended in your dreams. Brahma Buddha sighed. I've imparted it before. He said calmly, during the year of Dragon Han, Celestial Venerable Yun once found me and said that the human race was in a crisis. He said that a strong practitioner was needed to provide hope to the human race. He wanted to impersonate a few people that had already vanished without a trace. Thus, I imparted to him the technique that was newly formed and not matured. He cultivated my technique and impersonated Celestial Venerable Yu and Celestial Venerable Qin. He gave a glance at Qin Mu and said, he also impersonated Celestial Venerable Mu. Qin Mu's heart stirred slightly, and he probed, what old Buddha means. Celestial Venerable Yun's talent is extremely high, it's even higher than the old Daoist and me. After all, he was one of the 9 great celestial venerables that received the blessings from the ancient gods. After receiving my technique, he perfected it, and his unusual thoughts were even more marvelous than me, the founder. Brahma Buddha said, he imitated these 3 celestial venerables to perfection, and it had indeed brought massive hope to the human race. However, he still died in battle afterward. I don't know if the technique he improved on was passed down or not. Qin Mu's heart trembled violently, and he understood what Brahma Buddha meant. Someone had the divine art that had originated from Buddha's technique to create another Mother Earth. Could it be the Heaven Alliance? He asked with a low voice. Heaven Duke and Earth Count looked at each other in the eyes, and they sank into silence. They didn't speak a word. Brahma Buddha said, it might not be the Heaven Alliance. After Celestial Venerable Yun died, the technique that he improved on could also have been leaked from the Heaven Alliance. After all, everything happened so long ago. It's hard to say what happened in the Heaven Alliance. Qin Mu nodded his head gently and gave his thanks to the elders before pulling back his consciousness. Is Buddha leaving? Heaven Duke looked at the sky and asked, now is the best chance to leave. If you don't leave, this kid will put down the willow leaf again. Brahma Buddha said with a smile, if you guys aren't leaving, I'm not going to leave. Great Sun Sovereign said timidly, I want to leave, but I don't dare to. Lava Earth Count consoled him. Where else can you go? Aren't you just going to go back to Yudu? How is Yudu more interesting than here? Great Sun Sovereign's expression turned ashen, and he grumbled, you guys are the ones enjoying yourselves here. I've never enjoyed a day here. I'm always afraid that one day I will be eaten by that little overlord of Yudu. Qin Mu waited for a moment. When Heaven Duke, Earth Count, and the rest didn't leave his third eye, only then did he cover it up with the willow leaf. He raised his head to look silently at this Mother Earth. Behind him, countless half-gods have already knelt down and greeted in unison. We pay our respects to Mother Earth. Long live Mother Earth. Those gods and devils from the other worlds also knelt down with trembling bodies. They didn't dare to make any reckless moves. During the High Emperor era, Mother Earth was half a ruler in the primordial realm. Even though it was being ruled by the High Emperors of North Celestial Heavens in name, she was actually the one controlling half of the primordial realm. Back then, not even one race dared to rebel under her rule. Of course, South High Emperor Celestial Heavens was an exception. South High Emperor Celestial Heavens could even split the primordial realm into 2, and rule over the south, contesting Mother Earth. As for the reason behind this, it wasn't what outsiders would know. There were also quite a number that didn't kneel to Mother Earth. Qin Mu, Gongsun Yang, Feng Chuyan, and the dragon Qilin all stood upright. Only the water Qilin bowed down and shivered. He didn't dare to raise his head. Red deity Qi Xiaoyu's expression changed, and she raised her zither. With a hand grasping on the zither, she was valiant and formidable-looking as she made claims as equal to Mother Earth. Divine Knife Luo led the youths of Spirit Elite Guards to her back, and they burst forth with their aura. The divine knife in his sheath started ringing. They belonged to the same extraterritorial celestial heavens, and even though they belonged to different celestial palaces, rarely interfering with each other and even having some slight conflict from time to time, they had to work together when facing such an ancient god. Bai Chua also never knelt. As High Emperor Sword God, she was the remaining survivor of South High Emperor Celestial Heavens, so she didn't need to kneel to Mother Earth at all. Scholar also never kneeled. During the founding Emperor era, there was already no Mother Earth. Furthermore, she didn't even kneel when she meets founding Emperor, so why did she have to in front of Mother Earth? Under the towering primordial tree, Mother Earth looked down on everyone as though she were looking at ants. The atmosphere of an ancient god born from heaven and earth was so immense and terrifying that no one dared to have any rebelling thoughts. Mother Earth looked at them and didn't speak. The more silent she was, the more afraid the gods present were. Interesting. Suddenly, a chuckle broke the silence. Scholar swayed her feather fan and said with a smile, "Just now there was a fight with the true disciple of Mother Earth, which caused quite a havoc. Lu Zheng, should there be a fight between the real and fake Mother Earth now?" That donkey was so happy that he curled his lips in laughter. Ang ang ang. The donkey's laughter was very piercing to the ears. Right at this moment, a voice suddenly rang out. Why can't there be a fight between the real and fake Mother Earth? The part 307 and 308 end here. Thank you for watching.